Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef. I'm joined by my lovely co-host this morning.
Diva Locks 21. What's up? What's good?
It's been a long time. We've been away for quite some time now, but we've been participating in a lot of New York Liberty activities as far as going to games. So we've had the pleasure of being half season ticket holders, which is pretty cool. And the playoffs are here, so that's exciting. That the playoffs are definitely here. I feel like the playoffs. I don't. To me, it doesn't seem like the playoffs came quickly, but it's like the realization of like the fact that the playoffs are here now. I'm gonna be honest and admit, for me, my nerves are rattled. We had a slight conversation, and we're gonna get into that, but and I don't want to say my nerves are rattled because I don't believe in a liberty. I have full faith in them. However, I was telling you last night on the phone how the Liberty have a tendency to fall short on the games that matter. When the games are on, I don't even want to say on the line, but the important games that they should win, they don't always drop them, but the ones that really matter. Let's go back and rewind to last year in the finals against the Aces when they should have won at home, which would have brought the series back to Vegas. They would have tied it up and it would have went back to Vegas. They lost at home, which was painful as a Liberty fan to watch Vegas cheering and celebrating winning the championship in Brooklyn. Then we're going to fast forward to this year. The Liberty dropped the ball in the Commissioner's Cup. Now that,
Yeah.
yeah, they won it last year against Vegas, which was great. And I always tell you, it's the same thing for the NBA. Commissioner's Cup is cool, the in-season tournament's cool, but the championship is what matters. As an athlete, to be able to say you're a champion is that's what you play for, right? Besides getting your bag and getting your money. So they dropped the ball against Minnesota in the Commissioner's Cup. Then we were talking about how, and I compared them to the Knicks, how the Knicks had their woes against Boston and couldn't figure out the way to beat them. The Liberty can't figure out a way to beat the Minnesota Lynx for some freaking reason. We played them four times, I believe, this season. Four times
Yeah.
because each team we played them four times. So we played them four times and we haven't been able to beat them once. So really,
No.
technically, we beat them five because the Commissioner Cup doesn't count as a.
Well, no. I just want to stop. We're 3-1 against Minnesota, including the Commissioner's Cup.
So we beat them once,
Yeah.
but they still haven't figured out a way to beat them.
No, it's
At
still
the end of the
concerning.
day,
Yeah.
Minnesota has been on a tear since the All-Star break. I think they've only lost one game. Honestly, I had to check the roster a few times because I know they have Nafisa Collier, they have Kayla McBride, and a
Courtney.
few other young ladies, Courtney Williams, and a few other young ladies on the team. But I thought Maya Moore was on the team because the way they're winning, I'm not sure what's going on. I know what's going on. They're well coached. Something about just the cohesion. They're playing like a championship team. This squad hasn't won a championship. They won back when they had their Sylvia Fowles and Maya Moore on the team. But the way they're playing is the way championship teams play. Their rhythm, Minnesota's rhythm, reminds me of how Boston played all last year. Very smooth, quick, outsmarting teams. The pace is quick, just smart basketball IQ. Now, we were at Barclays Center when the Liberty played Minnesota. The Liberty were down by as much as 24, 25 points at one point. It was
Yeah.
painful to watch. Combination of just like poor basketball IQ throughout the game. Some of it was like silly passes. A lot of it wasn't good defense. Minnesota wasn't doing anything special. They were just out hustling the Liberty, the Liberty just seemed a step too slow, like they weren't ready.
Hmm.
Liberty lost that game. I believe they lost that one 79 to 88. 79-88. This was back on Sunday, September 15th. Now we fast forward to the last game. The Liberty did redeem themselves and won the next game after that, which the Liberty tend to do that when they lose a game, they make sure they win and redeem themselves the next game. Okay, now we go to the last home game of the regular season. The Liberty played the Atlanta Dream. The Atlanta Dream has Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, Tina Charles on the team, all excellent players. Excellent. And I love me some Tina Charles. Tina Charles is cold with it. I loved her when she was on the Liberty. She's played well on every team she's played on. And Tina Charles stays healthy. She stays in shape. She's a fantastic player. Her footwork is sick. Tina, I think Jonquel could guard Tina, but Tina's still going to make baskets. You could have excellent defense. She's still going to score. The Liberty, for some reason, I don't know. They came out kind of how they did against Minnesota. A step too slow. Just Atlanta wasn't doing anything special. Just didn't. And again, we talked about this and the commentators mentioned this throughout the game. The Liberty starters decided they wanted to play the last game. They didn't look like they showed up ready to play the way they were playing Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that game, because the 8th seed this season in the WNBA was up for grabs between the Chicago Sky, Washington Mystics, the Atlanta Dream, and I forget the other team that could have gotten 8th, because it wasn't Dallas and it wasn't LA. I think it was just those 3 teams that could have vied for a 8th seeded spot. So Atlanta was playing for an 8th seed spot into the playoffs with that win. They were playing like they had something to win for. They came in Brooklyn, tore the Liberty up. I think at one point the Liberty were down by close to 20 at some point in that game.
Yeah, there was.
The Liberty were able to get it down to, at one point, Stewie was really the only one playing, but Sandy pulled her out, I guess, to say whatever it is, what it is. So the Liberty lost 67-78, lost by 11 in that game. And it would have been more, but somehow they were able to it was a little too late. They were able to crawl back into that game. I want to know for you, before we even touch on the playoffs, what grade do you give the Liberty for this year, for this season?
Although they captured number 1, I would give them a A, and only because yeah, they lost 8 games, but only because like the games that a combination of both that they lost and that they won, there was some things and going into the playoffs that they have to clean up, you know. And yeah, they were predicted to go 30-10 and they did 32-8, but they could have even did 34-6 as far as I'm concerned. Or 35-5, but there's a lot of things that they have to clean up for them to advance in the playoffs. So the A, they started out great, um, especially Sabrina. Um, she's struggling, so she definitely has to like pick that up. This is the playoffs, like it's all or nothing.
Right.
Just their passing, they just their turnovers. Like
Yeah,
if
it's too
they
many.
could minimize those turnovers, they would definitely have success because the defense is there. Most games, offense, is definitely there. Um, the bench has to, just could make a little bit more contribution because they do have a pretty decent bench when I look at apples to oranges, their benches can hold their own. But just I like their turnovers, man, it's very concerning. Um, there's other things, but if they could just like, okay, let's make some smart passes, let's not rush things. Let's run our offense. Everybody needs to get a touch. And that's what I noticed, definitely with Minnesota. It's like you said, they wasn't doing anything special, but when you moving that ball, now you like the defense has to react to you. So if they could just do that and again just play smarter ball because we know Sandy, you know, she's capable. She's won it. Um and she can definitely bring them there and get them there, but they have to want it. So just as far as because of those little things that they have to tighten up, that's where I stand. I don't know about what grade would you give them and why?
I give them a B plus, and I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
why. There's too many turnovers. The Liberty have a horrible habit of forcing a pass in a paint that doesn't exist. John Cole Jones, Brianna Stewart will have double team, triple team on them, and somehow, whether it's Benija Laney, Sabrina Ionescu, Courtney Vandersloot, they still try to throw the ball in the paint. And I'm not sure why assistant coaches Sandy Brondello hasn't called them out and said, stop doing that pass. Because what's happening is the other team is getting the ball and it's resulting in points off of a turnover. So the basketball IQ is in question with things like that. Like, you know what I mean? That's something you know from when you're playing basketball in middle school, high school. You just don't do that. The other thing that is worrisome to me that I question also is a lot of times I see John Paul Jones, bringing up the ball a little too much, if you ask me. And I told you before, it kind of reminds me of how Julius Randle, before we got Jalen Brunson, used to always have to bring up the ball. And it was painful to see because I hated to see Randle bringing up the ball. And it's the same way with John Paul Jones. I don't want to see you bringing up the ball. I want to see you at the other end of the floor. And I understand Jonquel Jones is one of those bigs who's versatile her as far as her game goes, and she could shoot the three, she could shoot the mid range, she has excellent footwork, get into the basket. However, she's bringing the ball up, and Courtney Vandersloot and Sabrina or Brianna Stewart is standing. They're running down the court alongside her. I don't want to see her bringing up the ball. Once or twice, okay. If Courtney's double teamed or Sabrina's getting that full court pressure, I understand that. But that's another issue that I have that we've done throughout the season. The other thing that's why I give them a B plus is the Liberty, like the Knicks, settle for the threes. Why are you settling for threes? And they're not going down. Hell, I've seen a few people shoot some air balls. That's in question. And then the Liberty will still keep shooting threes throughout the game. And I'm looking at the opposing team and I'm like, yo, they're beating y'all at something you could be doing. They're driving to the basket, they're getting the foul, they're stopping the clock, and they're getting it to the free throw line. And this is how they're able to keep the lead up at 10 digits or a double figures or more. So it's the basketball IQ, it's the settling for the threes. Jonquel Jones bringing up the ball a little bit too much that I don't want to see. We don't need to see her bringing up the ball. And I think it's also just the Liberty have to have not just quick starts in the first quarter, but they have to have good third quarters. The Liberty are a great first quarter and fourth quarter team. They close out games very well, but they tend to have these lax. They chill a little bit in the second and third quarter. You can't chill no bit in any quarter because you need to learn how to finish teams and put them away. So I give them a B plus because the Liberty pretty much finished with the same record they had last year. But my thing is having a great record is great because yes, you do get home court advantage. You know what I mean? It does help you out throughout the playoff series. each playoff series. However, I just feel like the Liberty have pressure on them because you went to the finals last year, the ball fell short. This year you have to. Now that you was the number one seed, the pressure's really on you. And also because the franchise, the front office is saying we need a championship here in New York. And also the New York Liberty as a franchise have yet to win a championship in the WNBA. The whole purpose of bringing Brianna Stewart, John Quell Jones, Courtney Vandersloot here was to win a championship. So yeah, they finished at number one, but for me, I'm giving them a B plus. I thought the season was exciting. It was fun. I'm waiting to see when the Liberty peak. Brianna Stewart's been talking about this. Is it going to happen today? I'm wondering when the Liberty are planning on peaking because, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen the switch to the next level yet. And right today, every team that's in the playoffs, all 8 teams, the games start today. So if you don't bring it today, Atlanta's going to knock you right out. And losing to Atlanta in that last home opener game, allowing Atlanta to get into the playoff pool, gave Atlanta confidence that we can possibly take them in the first round. Which is crazy because the Liberty had beat Atlanta all
Yeah.
all three
See,
times out of four.
yeah.
Also, I mentioned to you how the Liberty have done this before with Atlanta and 2 other teams where we beat them out of the 4 times they've met. We beat these teams 3 times, and the Liberty allowed the other 2 teams as well as Atlanta beat them that last matchup, which is just inexcusable. So that's yeah, should have been 35 and whatever 40 or 35 and 5 rather, excuse me, for your record. So that's 3 wins right there that you should have won. You beat these teams already 3 times. Um, how ready do you think the Liberty are for the playoffs?
Um, of course they're ready, and right now they have no other choice. But is who else is going to step up for the Liberty? We know Stewie. She's a walking bucket. Stewie's there. Stewie's ready.
And she's won the
Um,
championship already, so she knows what it is.
yeah, and she's won it, so she know. Same thing with Courtney Vandersloot. So she's won it before, but who else is gonna like fill that role and be locked in with her, like ready to like battle. Like I said, you know, um, Sabrina, she's been struggling since after the Olympics. Um, and these are potentially like 18, 20 points that are left on the table. So who else is going to like be locked in with Stewie and like gonna be that filler, that go to, that walking bucket like Stewie is. Um, Sabrina can be, and she is, but right now she's struggling, and she has to get out of that slump. It's either now or never. The best out of three. You don't get a lot of chances. You lose this, yeah, you play again, but the momentum's definitely is gonna shift in Atlanta. You know, they got to come out and pounce on Atlanta's head. But outside of Stewie, John Quell, I love what she does for 6'6" big, but a guard you're not. So she definitely has to watch her passes. Um, don't settle for the three. We know you can hit them, but that's not your the end game for you. You know, go down low, bang, bang bodies. Like, so we know what Stewie can do, but we need John Crow and Sabrina definitely to like be dominant, aggressive. And I know Laney, her defense, she's definitely has to, take that up a notch. Um, and Courtney Vandersloot, she's like your point, like smarter passes, you know, look for the man. So these is like it's either now or never for them.
Yeah, I think Sabrina doesn't need to settle for chucking up threes. If
Yeah,
Sabrina starts doing that tonight, even if she's hitting them, don't do that. Don't do that. Because the problem with her doing that, why Sabrina's been successful this year is because she added to her game the floater, the
oh yeah,
driving, the hesitation on the drive. Girl, stop doing what you was doing past previous to this year. Stop shooting those stupid threes off of a whim. We come down the court, we get past half court, one pass, Sabrina shoots a three. That's going to lose you. You're not going to go far in the playoffs. I'm going to call it right now.
yeah,
You
one and
cannot
done.
do
Yeah,
that. That one and done, one pass, Sabrina chucks up a far three. Listen, hun, we don't need that. John Quell, make Tina Charles work on the defense. Make Tina Charles, make them have to double team you. And John Quell can't get frustrated. You got to frustrate them because if they frustrate you, when John Quell doesn't average a double double or has at least double figures in points, the Liberty don't win. So you have to give us at least 14 to 16 points, which she's more than capable of doing.
for sure.
But when you out at the 3-point line at the top of the key, because this is another thing that kills them. John Quell's at the top of the key, right? Now, granted, sometimes whoever she's guarding, hypothetically, let's say it's Nafisa Collier. Nafisa's versatile, like John Quell. She could be at the top of the key, she could shoot the mid range. So if John Quell's guarding at the top of the 3-point line of the perimeter, Courtney Vandersloot ends up at the paint, and now somehow they'll do a switch offensively, the opposing team, and somehow Courtney gets caught on the screen, and now she's trying to guard a Tina Charles. You know what I mean? A Ryan
Yeah,
Howard, and they that's an easy bucket for the opposing team. It happens every game. I don't know what the Liberty have to do. They have to figure out how to have that coverage down low. I've seen so many countless games this season where the other team are easy layup boot because Courtney's trying to guard them and she's not tall enough. She's not a tall player. And now to get on Courtney Vandersloot, I agree with you. Also, Courtney needs to don't stop your dribble too early. She doesn't really do that much, but I've seen games where she stops her dribble. Now she's stuck, and then Brianna or Sabrina got to come and help her out and come up and get the ball. You shouldn't have stopped your dribble. Keep your dribble going. And Deuce McBride's sister, Jalen Sherrod, who I love, I she would get more playing time. And like I said, if she's on the floor with Sabrina, Jonquel, Brianna, Laney, she could play with them. If they really want to put her in, I think she would be an excellent X Factor weapon to put in because she's so freaking fast.
yeah,
She has
she's
that quickness like Kennedy Carter on the Chicago Sky. She can get past and her defense. She can get us some easy stuff. She's a pest. She's so annoying on defense that a
yeah,
lot of guards don't want to go past her. So if you put her in, play smart. But also, it takes the liberty to play smart. Sandy can't go on the court and do it for them. But I think to your point, Benanja Laney, yeah, we know she could play excellent defense, but I think she also has to be a little bit more aggressive
yeah.
offensively. Look for
Oh,
your
for
shot
sure.
and take it. And not just the three. She can shoot the mid-range shot. As long as she puts some oomph on it and arc her shot, she's great. Leonie Febish. I would like to see her be more aggressive because she is another walking bucket. We know she could shoot the three, but I would like to see her like she reminds me of Josh Hart. She's looking to pass the ball. Why? Look to score. Why are you looking to pass the ball? Yes, in certain instances you have to dish it off and pass it, but sometimes I'm like, man, with your height at 6'5", I need her to be more aggressive offensively. We need to not rely on Brianna Stewart. Jonquel Jones and Sabrina to score the points. I need, like, to your point, the other ladies have to step in and score. KT and KB. I noticed like Kayla Thornton is not getting as many looks, and her three has been off a bit too. But like, you got to try to get yourself involved in some way, shape, or aspect. Now, Kennedy Burks, she has to work on her three in the off season, but she makes up for it defensively. She's
Yeah.
very active on the defense where she's tall too. I think she's like 6'3", so she puts her hands up. A lot of times she's able to deflect the pass and she easily gets the steal. She's a great passer and can get the ball from one end to the other and very quickly. But I agree. I think that the other ladies have to step up because when the bench becomes a problem, it takes a little bit of the eyes off of the star players because now the defense has to worry about the bench as well. So I agree. The bench players are more than capable. We've seen it plenty of games throughout the season where the bench for the New York Liberty have been phenomenal. But this is not the time to kind of be passive and say, well, I'm going to just play my role. You got to play your role and do then some. This is the playoffs. The energy, the game shifts to a different level. Teams who maybe people counting on Indiana Fever to take the championship this year. Do I see that happening? No. I don't see them getting past Minnesota, and I don't see them getting past Las Vegas Aces, and I'll put the Liberty in third. I don't see them getting past the New York Liberty. But Vegas is looking to do a three-peat. They're going to turn it up to another level.
Yeah.
They may have come in fourth, but they're not. That's why I say it doesn't matter if you came in first, second, third, fourth in the regular season. It's
Yeah.
about what you do in the playoffs. You got to get past round one and the semis to get to the finals.
Yep, you don't carry those games over into the playoffs. It's a new day. All those games is they don't count, but not for nothing. Yeah, you might have came first, second, third, or fourth, but right now this everything's like starting over. But unfortunately, with the downside, you don't get a lot of do-overs.
No,
That's just the way it is. You can't count nobody out. Um, most teams since the it's ironic. Some teams since the Olympics they've been on a tear, and yet at the same time, there's teams that are struggling, or not even teams, players that are
right,
struggling, but they've managed to be in this fall in the standings where they fell, i.e. the Liberty. Sabrina's been struggling, but for some reason, they've managed to, fall into first. That's only because of, the players that they have and the little things, they've managed to just ink out wins. Um, but again, there's teams that are on a tear and how they since their break, they've won, I'm gonna give you a case of Minnesota. I think they won the last 8 out of 10 since the break. Same thing with the Aces. How they managed to win, these games, although they fell into fourth place, but all that don't matter. So, it's don't matter where you fall at the standards. Everything counts today.
right.
So, and this is where you have to like be ready.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think that I want to actually share the bracket so people can see what the bracket is looking like. Can you see that?
Yeah,
So round one, New York is facing Atlanta. Because New York Liberty finished in first, they have home court advantage. So it's in, keep in mind, round one is the best out of three. So, like Diva Lock said, there's no room for error. You have to win the first two games. You don't want to win one, lose the second one. You have to win the first two, knock them out. Then, once the Liberty go on to the semi round, They'll be playing whoever's the winner of Las Vegas Aces or the Seattle Storm. I want to say that this year, the playoffs, to me, this is the best playoff bracket we've seen in a while because this playoff this year, it can go any way. Truly, with Seattle's going to put up a fight against Vegas. Do I think they're going to beat them? No. But it can go either way. I don't think that Seattle's just going to get ran over. It's possible that they don't win one game, but I don't see it being where they're just going to let Vegas just slaughter them. Now, initially, I said Minnesota against Phoenix. To me, and again, I feel like Minnesota playoff run is going to be like the Boston Celtics. It's a little too easy, in my opinion, for them because Phoenix has been struggling. You know, they fell in seventh place throughout the regular season. Diana Taurasi, this may be her last year. I don't know. I really don't see it as possible, but I don't see them beating Minnesota. And then you have Connecticut. This is going to be the series a lot of people are going to be watching.
Watch it. Yeah.
The Connecticut Sun versus Indiana Fever. A lot of people are counting on Indiana and Caitlin Clark. You know her cult following. They want her and the Indiana Fever to beat Connecticut. Now, Connecticut is another team like the Liberty. They're looking to win a championship. They haven't had one. I think they won one, but they haven't had one in a while. And Connecticut, I think their agenda, like the Liberty, they have to come in the top two, top three teams during the regular season. And I know their coach is definitely not trying to lose to Indiana Fever. So this series, a lot of people are going to be watching. So round one is going to be fun. It's going to be great to watch. The Liberty have to beat Atlanta. You have to beat them. Because
Yeah.
whether it was Atlanta, whether it was going to be the Washington Mystics, whoever it was, you have to beat them. You can't beat a number one team in a regular season and then go out by the eighth seed. It just doesn't make any sense. It's inexcusable. You can't allow it to happen.
Yeah, Atlanta's definitely gonna try to pull
Up,
they play Friday or Thursday's games today. They definitely gonna wanna strike first, and because you know they watch a whole lot of film.
yeah.
Um yeah, I'm telling you, they will probably in that film room from sun up to sundown. And again, they're gonna want to be that more aggressive team because they figure, well, they're gonna try to do a repeat,
Hmm.
and it's up to New York to respond. And how will they respond? You
Right.
know, will they come out and be the aggressor and force Atlanta to play their style, or will Atlanta try to switch? So New York, they know what's at stake and what needs to happen and handle their business, but how they respond is gonna tell a lot. Just the first from the tip, and you can even say like the first. I mean, you can say 5-6 minutes of the game. If they could just come out, just score. Now and again, now Atlanta got to respond to them. So it's going to tell a lot. That first few minutes of the game, not the first quarter, they have
Right.
to attack.
Yeah, I agree. It's true. I think the Liberty have to have one of those games where we've seen this plenty of times with them where they have one of those like super aggressive games where they up by 12, 15 easily in the first.
Yeah,
Like you got to have that kind of energy where you can't even give Atlanta room to breathe in the game. And that's the kind of game that the Liberty have to have. Again, it's a, I agree with you. The first couple of minutes is going to determine how game one is going to go. You know, you don't want to say the series, but game one is going to go. Are there any teams out of the eight teams in the playoffs that's concerning for you that the Liberty may face? Or is it one particular team?
and I think it's more one. And I would even say two, to be honest with you. My first team is Minnesota
Yeah, agree.
because Minnesota. It seems like they have the Liberty's number, and then I'm gonna switch it to my other team. And I guess because they Minnesota beat them 3-1 at throughout the series, and just like when we that watching them, like they Cheryl Reeves, she just coached the Olympics, so she's a coach that's well respected. And by the way, I think she won Coach of the Year. I don't know if they announced it, but if not, I think she's gonna definitely, and I think that she did because I saw something Becky Hammons congratulate her on
Oh, good.
winning. Um, so she's a veteran coach. Um, her players respond. They're on a tear. Just Nafisa, how she's able to guard she's like an OG, able to guard multiple positions.
Mhm.
So just her playing acumen, her basketball IQ. Um, so like, and the other players that they have, Kayla McBride. So how they able to move the ball, just like everybody's getting a touch, and now the defense is forced to react to them, and now the perimeter. Now they shoot it out. Guess what? Somebody's hitting that three. So just like they're playing at the basketball IQ with the team overall. So Minnesota's like scary for me. With the Liberty. Are the Liberty capable of beating them? Heck yeah. But so I think that's the first team, and the second team is the Aces. Yeah, they're four, but Chelsea Gray has found her stride. Um, Asia just won, MVP. So
Mhm.
when the players, win an award, or when they find their stride, that gives them momentum and saying, "Hey, we can do this." And all teams think they can, but that extra boost, and then teams like that can be scary. You sleep on them, and then next they start knocking teams off, and now you're facing them, and the confidence is just building and building and growing. So teams like that is just like, are kind of, scary, and you don't want to sleep on. There's other teams, but my main two teams are those. I mean, there's others, Connecticut. We don't think play teams like that, but I think it's teams, Minnesota and the Aces for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Minnesota. Like I said, Minnesota, the way the Minnesota Lynx are playing reminds me very similar to how the Boston Celtics have played all of last season. Just
Yeah,
very cohesive. They're locked in with each other. A strong, strong discipline with this team. I mean, they're like handling business every night. And it's like a well-oiled machine that they're so disciplined. It's very little room for error with them when you watch them play.
yeah.
And
Mm.
it's like how Dawn Staley coached South Carolina. It's very little room for error. And that's why teams, you know, I think going back to what you said earlier is that the Liberty should have won more games, but the lack of discipline in certain games caused room for errors. It's that, and then it's like the basketball IQ, like the decisions and the choices you make in a game will hurt you, and that's what affects you either winning or losing a lot of times. Minnesota for sure is a concerning team for me in the playoffs, and that the Liberty may not be able to win the championship this year. And I think for me, it's a tie between the next two teams, and for me, it's the Aces, and to me, because the Aces have already won the championship the last two seasons, and I just think that they're looking at, we're going for a three-peat. That's just
Yeah.
it. We're going to win the championship again. Nobody could stop us. Because
Yeah.
when we get in playoff territory, it's our territory. It's us for the grabs and to take. So I think it's the Las Vegas Aces are very concerning and scary for the Liberty to go against, which the Liberty should want to get redemption because they beat y'all in Brooklyn. That's embarrassing. And the other team, and not just because she's on the team, but because we lost to them, I believe, twice. We beat them 2 times or 3 times, and we lost to them once or twice. The Indiana Fever. Um, you can't stop Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. Why? Why can't you stop them? They doing the simplest moves on you, and somehow, and it's not just the Liberty teams can't figure out how to stop them. Here's my thing too. I just thinking about Aaliyah Boston. I thought about Kelsey. I'm thinking about Asia Wilson, Tina Charles. And again, I don't want to make this like we're picking on, like I'm picking on Jonquel Jones. Jonquel Jones is really going to be the difference maker in this playoffs. Not just for her scoring, not just for her rebounds. If she plays that lazy defense that she does, oh my gosh, she be killing me. That I don't want to move my feet or I'm just kind of shuffling my feet defense, the Liberty are not going to win. You can't play lazy defense against a Tina Charles, against an Asia Wilson. I want to see you put 150, 200% defensive effort, everyone on the team, but especially her. Because what happens is the WNBA is not the WNBA it was years ago.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
the
sure.
moves that players like a Tina Charles and Asia Wilson are doing in the paint, you have to guard them. They shouldn't have any space. Make them work to get the shot off that they want. You got to make it. I'd rather them make a tough, difficult shot where I'm like, "Oof, that was just great defense, but that was better." I would rather it
Okay.
be that way than to you to just put your hand out and look like you're trying to attempt. Stop with the lazy defense. Play defense for the love. If Jonquel Jones doesn't play excellent defense on the post because she has one of the hardest jobs, you have to guard Tina Charles. Tina Charles could give them 20 plus points easily. She got that one floater off the leg that she do on the side of
Oh
the
yeah.
basket to the right above the free throw line that she could do. She takes the ball and put it down low, and then she'll hesitate like she's gonna go left or go right, and then she spin into the basket and get in the easy basket. What you gonna do against Nafisa Collier? Gotta defend her. And I know sometimes Brianna Stewart will do it, but the difference with Stewie is that Stewie has such a long wingspan, and Brianna's like watching your footwork and what you're gonna do. It may look like you want to beat Brianna, but she puts that hand up and block, try again. And then she'll get the rebound and through a nice
Yeah.
pass. She just does that so well. Jonquel will get the blocks, but more than once, she's getting beat because it's lazy defense. You're playing defense with your stomach. Remember that was the issue we had with Deuce McBride? Instead of moving your feet, you playing with your mid torso. You can't play defense like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's what happens is, and then you doing this and putting your hand up at the ref. That wasn't a foul.
Get
It was
beat.
a foul because you
Hmm.
playing with your chest out instead of moving your feet and having your hands active. That's the kind of defense that Jonquel Jones has to play. If her defense is lazy, if the passing is lazy, if you stop your dribble too early, if you allow the shortest player on Atlanta to gather rebounds, if Alicia Gray is grabbing rebounds, we have a problem. Why is she getting rebounds? And the other little short one on the team, I can't think of her name right now. If they grabbing rebounds, I'm concerned. So again, this all applies to everyone on the Liberty, but it especially applies to Jonquel Jones. You have to want it more. Be a leader. I don't want to just see Stewie being a leader on a team. She needs help. Stop leaving her on the Lone Star by herself trying to figure every freaking thing out. Help her out. She shouldn't have to drop. 40 points, 45 points. You know what she looks like out there? Remember when we was playing? I don't remember if it was. I think it was in round one. One of the games in round one when we lost against Philadelphia. Remember Jalen Brunson? He was trying to do everything by himself, and a
Oh
few times
yeah.
we was like, "Pass the ball, bro." It's four of the players on the floor, and I really haven't seen Brianna Stewart do that a lot. You know who does that? Sabrina.
Mm.
Hello, it's four of the players on the floor. Pass the ball. She trying to come down and shoot threes because she's trying to get us back in the game. That's not how you do it. You got to drive to get us back in the game. We don't need threes every time you come down. This is not a Steph Curry, Sabrina Ionescu 3-point shootout. We already saw that last year in the play. We don't need to see that tonight. I mean, this afternoon. So I don't want to see Brianna Stewart having to be a hero because she's trying and you could see she's fighting to get them back in the game. And you could see her telling them, like, come on, get in the game. Sandy stressed out, cursing them out on the sideline in the timeout. Sabrina, if your shot is not falling, drive to the basket, babes.
Yeah, for sure.
Drive
Yeah.
to the basket. I'd rather you get fouled. And here's the thing, when she drives, you can't be a predictable Patty where deflection. Because let's you play against the Las Vegas Aces, Chelsea Gray is swatting that ball. She does that well. She reminds me of Kyle Lowry. Boop.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're not gonna get it pat to the basket.
Mhm.
And then you want to cry to the ref about a foul. That's not a foul. I'm on your team. I'm a fan. It wasn't a foul. Your drive to the baskets are very predictable. Just like those passes. You think because you did this to one side or you did this to the right, the defense is watching you. So whoever's closest to the basket now is going to run up and tap it, and now they're going off with the win for an easy layup.
Mm.
So to me, it is a tie between those three teams for me. That's concerning: the Minnesota Lynx, the Las Vegas Aces, and the Indiana Fever. And here's the thing: you mentioned Connecticut. We beat Connecticut. They were the other team along with Atlanta. We beat them 3 times out of 4. The last matchup, we allowed Connecticut to beat us. And I'm going to tell you why. You and I was talking about this. The reason why teams are able to beat the New York Liberty is because the Liberty don't do well under pressure. When teams put that matador clamped defense on the Liberty, they get razzled and frazzled
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they allow teams to dictate how they're going to play. Why are you allowing that pressure defense? First of all, this is a professional league. Any team is going to be able to put that kind of defense on you. One, two, why are you allowing that to get you frazzled and razzled? And now you don't, all of a sudden, y'all don't know each other and how to play. It's concerning. That's why Connecticut beat the Liberty. They were playing them so tightly. The defense was white on rice, and the Liberty had nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Couldn't make a basket, couldn't do what they wanted to do. And I thought, there goes a piece of humble pie for you. So if Atlanta comes out like that tonight, I don't know what the Liberty, excuse me, this afternoon, I don't know what the Liberty are planning on doing. You have to figure out a way to stop making the ball go from the top of the key left, back to the top, to the right, back to the top, and nothing's happening. And then you want Brianna Stewart to be the savior because she's the only one at a drive.
Yeah.
That's why I say this New York Liberty team, they're very reminiscent of the Knicks. They are. They
Yeah.
wait till your Jalen
But
or the Julius to drive, and it's the same way with the Liberty. We wait for one or two players to make something happen. Why? Step up and stop being passive. Be aggressive. Stop relying on Brianna Stewart and Sabrina when she's on to finally make a move. Somebody else has to be aggressive and score some points. Sometimes
They're
they go on left and right, left. I'm looking like, oh, the shot clock's now down to 7, 6, 5. Who's gonna do something?
I mean, they are to a certain degree, but to Sandy's credit, um, one thing, and we've always talked about this. One thing I like about her coaching style is that she will call a timeout right on time.
At the right
So
time.
she at the right time. So she really don't let the score build up. It's just
Hmm.
sometimes it's just like you said, it's great defense, but it's just better offense. But for the most part, she will call that timeout, gather them. 9 times out of 10, they will, score
Score.
on that possession. And sometimes it's a waste of possession. They'll come at a timeout and they'll throw the ball away. So, but these are the things that they have to, clean up. But she will get, it's like you gather the troops and let them settle. She, because again, this is why you have assistants and things like that. People see things that perhaps you don't see,
Right.
because you're so busy, looking on the floor, whatever. And so you call a timeout and you let them regroup. So that's what I like about her, her coaching style. So don't get away to the margin, don't expand as much. So I mean, I just had to just mention that, yeah, they're reminiscent of the Knicks, but hey.
I mean, yeah, Sandy calls the timeouts at the right time, but I just think that this team has to, they gotta want it more. Everybody has to be hungry. And I think that going into today's game, you have to be like, it's no way we're going out to Atlanta.
I I I,
Even
I,
even if it wasn't Atlanta, if it was Indiana, if it was Connecticut, you
yeah,
you can't
anybody.
be like we
Yeah.
losing in the first round. You know what I mean? Not if you made the finals last year, you can't go backwards. The goal is the championship, of course, but you have to get back to the finals. You have to. So you gotta fight for every possession. Defense has to be A1, like everything has to be on point, and it has to be very little room for error and turnovers. You can't afford errors. This is a different territory, a different stage.
Okay, so for I don't even want to say for today's, I can say today's game, but it should carry over. Who you think is that X factor? Um, n- Not even so much as the starters, but just overall in general. Who you think is that X factor for them?
For the Liberty.
Yeah.
I think the X factor for the Liberty, to me, um, I think it would be a tie between Benijah Laney and because she's more than capable of giving you 18 to 20, 23 points. But I think Benijah Laney could be an X factor because most teams are expecting her to be great defensively. But I think Benijah Laney, or I would say, I would just throw it off the whim. Courtney Vandersloot, if she can be aggressive enough, because we've seen games where she's taken over and she drives to the basket, but I think she also has to be careful when she drives because sometimes she'll try to do the reverse and then the tall player just blocks it from her because I'm like, Courtney, you're not getting that
Mhm.
up. But I think those two players could definitely be an X factor. And then if not one of them, I think it can be like your Kayla Thornton, who can give you points, or Kennedy Burke could come off the bench, or Sabali. But honestly, I think that because Sabali had a pretty good game against Atlanta the last matchup. They
Yeah.
couldn't guard her. I think because she has a bit more quickness than Jonquel. And at one point we saw where Sandy had both of them on the floor. So I don't know, maybe they should go to that tonight. But I think the X factor for me would definitely be between Lainey or Courtney.
Um,
Who's your
yeah,
X factor?
I would definitely go Laney, for sure. because defensively, she just if she could just take it up a notch and just look for a score and to score more because we know, we've seen where Laney can drop 18, 20,
Mhm.
25. So we've seen it, and she's more than capable. Definitely Courtney, just smart passing, um, you know, get more involved, and I call her, I say old lady Sloop, because that's my girl though. And then I'm gonna go with the bench. I'm gonna go with my girl Leonie. Um,
Phoebus,
she's
yeah.
won the six woman player of the award, for the year. So she definitely has that on lock.
Oh, she
And
won
there's
it?
yeah,
Oh, well
unanimous.
deserved.
Yeah,
Well deserved. Yeah, her percentages are so high.
exactly. And that's just why I'm gonna go with her because she's like in second, as far as like a 3 point,
Yeah.
just overall, and we know like she's like that wing. She's big, tall, and so she can guard and she could shoot. So I think if she was just to just look for her shot more, um, she can definitely be like a deciding just as far as just knocking down those threes. That's I'm definitely riding with her. And but so those three. Sably, I definitely would throw her in. But definitely Lainey, um, Slew, and then Leonie. If she could just look for her shot more, and knock down the threes, I think that could be a deciding factor for the Liberty for sure.
I think the key for those X factors that we listed between Lainey, Courtney, and Phoebus is that exactly what you said. If they are more of a playing more of a passing game, and when I get the ball, if I'm open, I'm a shoot. That's not to your advantage. The Liberty are actually very successful when they have at least 4 to 5 players in double figures. It can't
Yeah,
just be two, 3 people, and then you have
yeah,
7 points here, 8 points here. If you can get Phoebus 12 to 14 points from her, Benijah Laney 14, 16 points, Courtney Vandersloot could give you 10 to 12 points in a game. That's balanced scoring.
yeah.
And the Liberty
See,
have to do like Minnesota, pass the ball around, let every player touch it before we just decide to chuck up a shot, whether it's a three or whatever. And I honestly think that Laney and Phoebus could be successful also if they drive to the basket. Because Laney is more than capable of getting to the basket. So I want to see them be aggressive as a whole, everyone too. I want to see Sabrina driving. I want to see Jonquel Jones getting easy. Jonquel Jones should be living under the basket. Get
yeah,
easy buckets, allow Tina Charles to foul you, allow whoever foul you on Atlanta, and just get the easy basket.
yeah. She should be
So
playing bully ball. Yes.
yeah, yeah, don't because if she's trying to shoot the three, Tina Charles is going to stay under the basket. She'll live with that. She's going to let John Quell shoot the three. She may kind of come out a little bit, but I think the Liberty could also be successful if they have cutters cutting to the basket. And I know Sandy's talked about this before, where she says sometimes she feels like they cut too much and it crowds the paint, which is true sometimes. But if the Liberty cut to the basket, that's why I like Kennedy Berg because her basketball IQ with her passing reminds me of Isaiah Hartenstein.
Oh yeah,
If you move, she's gonna find you. And a lot of times, you notice she catches the ball, and what she does well that John Quell can't do, she can put the ball by her feet, but she's not gonna lose it. She puts it down. She's looking. I'm looking at her. She's looking, and no one's cutting. And I'm like, what a waste. This used to happen with Isaiah Hartenstein. He looking, waiting for somebody to cut without looking like Captain Obvious. And this is what happens with the Liberty with Kennedy Burke. She's looking for someone to cut. No one's cutting. And it's not always a wasted opportunity, but I just think that the Liberty have to make better decisions when it comes to that. But if they can be aggressive enough and drive to the basket, get Atlanta in foul trouble. I think when we played them, what was that, Thursday? No one was in foul trouble, which is like sad. I think most the most I think fouls someone had on Atlanta was maybe three, and that's not cool. Like you got to have, fouls on the opposing team to be able to be successful. So the Liberty, I want to see them be aggressive. I want to see them come out with high energy. I want to see them ready to put Atlanta away. Atlanta barely made the playoffs. They only made the playoffs because they beat the Liberty on Thursday, and that allowed them to get in the playoffs. Plus other teams, Chicago, Sky, who, started losing towards the end. They lost Angel Reese with she had to have surgery on her wrist. Um, and then Washington, who the Liberty beat prior to playing Atlanta. I believe they played them on Tuesday. They lost to the Liberty, so the Liberty booted them out. But otherwise than that, Atlanta barely made the playoffs.
That's
So,
true.
you don't want to see them. And Atlanta's capable. I'm not going to say they will go far in the playoffs, but they're more than capable of getting out of the first round for sure. So I just need to see high energy. I want to see the Liberty want it more. I want to see, like you said, the first few minutes, the Liberty be up by 15, be up by 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Take advantage and make Atlanta try to figure out how do we get back in this game. And that's how I want to see it for the whole game.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, for the Liberty to advance definitely for today. The keys, again for today's game and hell to the championship. Um, you know, limit your turnovers. That's definitely has to be key, man.
Mhm.
Their turnover is atrocious. Um, that's number one. Guard that perimeter and protect the paint.
Yeah,
Like we've seen, where we've seen it, and that you're a diehard and you're a basketball fan. You've seen it. And Sabrina definitely has to get out that slump.
and
Like
stop settling for
yeah,
threes.
and stop.
Drive.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen where and she's developed that mid range, and that floater, under her belt. Utilize that, like that was those threes. Like they say, you live by the three, you die by the three. So definitely, she needs to get on point. Um,
She
and
didn't do that the last game either. That driving with
yeah,
the floater, she didn't do it not once. I think she tried to drive twice and she got blocked and stuffed both times and got annoyed. And Sandy sat her down because it was like, you're off.
rightfully so. And JJ, she definitely has to be dominant and be a monster on the board. Like again, the capabilities there. So these are the things that she needs to do.
Hmm.
The bench would definitely need to be just a little bit more assertive and make more of a contribution. Um, we've seen it. I love, when Kayla Thornton, she can, hit the three, but again, we don't want to sit back and settle. And good ball movement. We know when they it touches and you again now the defense has to react to you. And again, just good ball movement, one play and one pass at a time. And this will get them to that championship. So those are my keys, definitely for the game and the road to the championship.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with them all. I think that if you are coming off the bench, you can drive as well. We don't need threes from you. You're going to beat them if you get them in foul trouble. And
Yeah,
also, you don't want the refs calling the whistle more in Atlanta's favor. Even though you're home, if Atlanta goes up, the whistle's gonna go more in their favor. So the Liberty just have to come out aggressive and want it, and we'll see. The game comes on in less than an hour. Yeah, I mean, our predictions is for the Liberty to get out of round one, of course, but being that it's so stressful because it's the best out of three, you have to win the first two games.
And also just to piggyback off of John Paul Jones, she although we sometimes we hate her passing and how she tries to get that guard mentality. She is a great passer because she is leading the centers, in assists. So like, don't force it. Because I guess maybe her height, so that she has the advantage with just having great court vision. So it's like an eye heart because she does lead the centers, in assists per game. So she can, just make the smart passes and not force it. That's definitely a win in the Liberty's favor. So
Yeah, I think it's just the kind of passes she makes.
yeah,
They're
exactly.
like I don't know. She tries to throw passes like she's Mike Bibby or like she's Tina Panachero, like these fancy passes that you just throw a
Hmm.
simple chest pass,
We
throw a
don't
simple
need
bounce
just
pass,
simple.
right? And even sometimes the decision on the passes, I think like 2 games ago, she made a pass and she was at one end of the court and she threw like a overhead pass down the floor. And then whoever was running down with, I don't know if it was Sabrina on the outlet or if it was Stewie, whoever was guarding them on the defense, they were like watching it almost like a football pass and they just jumped up and grabbed it and went down to the other end of the floor. And I'm like, I didn't think that that was a good pass. I read it as it was happening. I'm like, whoever's running down with whoever's in the outlet, running down the floor, I'm like, that defender, they're going to grab the ball. Like I saw it before it happened. So yeah, I'm gonna be watching the first few minutes. I want to see their, like Wonder Woman said, their the Liberty's energy level and just how they come out. I mean, it's so important. The crowd's gonna be behind them, but the Liberty gotta just take control and take advantage. You've already beat Atlanta several times. Don't let them come in on a high and think that they can just go in and win this game. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. They play today at 1, and then they play again game 2, excuse me, on Tuesday.
Hmm. Yep.
So we'll see.
Oh, and also I did mention about Leone, but also Brianna Stewart. She won Player of the Month. So kudos to her.
Oh, I wasn't sure if that was the Liberty saying that because I didn't go and check it on WNBA, but I saw the Liberty made a post saying our player of the month. But rightfully so. She actually came in third in MVP votes.
Yeah,
Nikita
yeah.
Collier was in second.
Hmm.
And you know, I know you had sent me a clip of Becky Hammond talking to reporters about them going down a rabbit hole with the whole Asia Wilson votes and et cetera for MVP. And then Becky and Defensive Player of the Year. And then Becky brought up Sabrina Ionescu and how she questioned why she isn't on the WNBA's all first team.
Hmm.
And I think the reason why Sandy Brondello is not coach of the year. Sabrina's not on NBA all first team. Yes, Stewie won the MVP last year. There was a whole controversy about that. People felt like Asia Wilson should have won it, but Asia Wilson's already won an MVP. John Cole Jones has also won an MVP. That's neither here or there. The point I'm making is that I think the New York Liberty, unfortunately, are under that same umbrella like the Knicks. Until you win a championship, you're not getting respected. No one
Yeah.
takes you seriously. I think players around the league, and I think like the sports media writers and content creators realize the Liberty are a really good team and they have a lot of weapons, yes. But I don't think the Liberty are respected as an organization because they haven't won a championship. So, like the Knicks, until you win a championship, you're not taken all the way seriously. People may recognize, oh, this player is good. They play well. They beat this team, but you didn't win a championship. You fell short, or you got out at this round. So the Liberty, to me, and this is why I said earlier, they have that pressure a little bit on them because you made it to the finals last year. You finished second in the league last year. You finished first this year in the league. You got to make it back to the finals. You have to win a championship. The front office wants a championship so bad. There's this pressure on them. So let's focus on round one. Let's get past Atlanta because round two is only going to get harder if you're facing most likely the Aces. And the Aces are going to be confident because I think, like I said, a lot of teams look at the Liberty like they choke on the games that matter. So we can beat them. So we'll see what happens this afternoon. I have the Liberty winning game one. I'm going to be stressed out. I'm already like, so
Now they gonna win game one and two. Just put Atlanta to bed. And stop playing with them and just handle your business. Serious. Like really.
yeah, we'll see. Shout out to the chat for everybody joining us today. Wonder Woman and Roz for checking in. Those of you who are watching who are not in the chat, watching live. Shout out to the replay gang as well. Those of you who are watching, we are back. Now that the WNBA is in the playoffs, we'll be covering all playoff coverage. And then we didn't cover any Knicks news today because there have been some things happening with the Knicks, but we will come back with that when we go on. So I think we switching our days to it's going to be Sundays and I think it's
Thursday.
going to be Thursdays, I believe at 6:30
Mhm.
or either
Yeah.
Friday. So probably most likely Thursdays. So we'll definitely be back with the Knicks content. We'll be talking about some updates because there are some things that we need to talk about with the Knicks, acquisitions on the Knicks, players repeated old players returning to the team, and just some other good stuff to talk about. So we'll be talking about that. We'll recap the first two games for round one for the Liberty as well. And yeah, so stay tuned. We are back to our regularly scheduled program. Um, and thank you everybody for watching us. We hope everybody have a great week and we'll see y'all